Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so the first part of this video will have some watch-related stuff, and then it's going to kind of transition into something that's not watch-related at all, but more alcohol-related. So if you're here for the watch stuff, here it is. All right, so first of all, still rocking the Tudor Hydronaut, and boy, I mean, I love this watch, and it's been through quite a lot this week. You know, if you've ever had a bad experience with a watch, it's tempting to look down at it and sort of associate it with that event and sort of want to get it off your wrist and change to something else. It tends to perhaps become a symbol of that difficult moment. And I experienced that over this past weekend. In fact, like a week ago from today, and there was a little while where I thought, yeah, I don't know if I can look at this watch, and I kept it on, and I'm glad I did keep it on because it saw me through what I thought was sort of a somewhat depressed low point, but it saw me sort of come out of that, and I feel like it's sort of been on a little bit of a journey with me, and sort of a friend that has stuck by me. So I love this watch, I really do, and it bears some of the damage of that Friday night, and here it is right here. I don't know if you guys can see the clasp there, particularly the flip lock, and then there's a little bit right above that shield. So we often look at wear as sort of like battle scars and whatnot, but they really don't have often such a great story behind them. And the first couple of days after that, in the sort of the peak of sort of the embarrassment, and I was hungover, and my brain really wasn't producing any sort of happiness inducing chemicals. This right here really was sort of a shot to the gut every time I looked at it. And now I'm a bit back. I'm back, all right, and not so much. I'm cool with it. Do I want it there forever? That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it's unlike, I want to say, the upper left-hand corner of the case of my Explorer 2, which has a ding I got at the park when I went there with my daughters. This is not a source of like, oh, I remember that. It's sort of a source of a memory that is not altogether pleasant, and for that reason, part of me says, get rid of it and have it polished out. But I don't think I will, because I just don't do polishing. Well, I'm sort of a case by case kind of guy, and I will polish in certain circumstances, and sometimes I think my pieces need one good Rolex polish if it has been polished by a third party, and I think this one has. So perhaps I will, but anyway, that there is some visible scarring of that fateful Friday night. And my guess is that this comes from the bottle, the ceramic bottle of that Jennifer. But really, I can't say for sure. I haven't set it since then, and it's running, I'm going to say my guess would be -1. So this is just a super accurate watch, and what was that I had it set there for? Well, I can't remember, a bus time perhaps. But anyway, so still on my wrist, still loving it, still respecting it, and yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are really iffy on the tutor, but I dig it. I dig it a lot. I could be a one watch guy. I really could have that one friend with me. But it will be stowed shortly because I got this in the mail. And this signifies that the GMT Master 2 all black 16710 is ready. So we'll open this, but you can see it's got the beautiful logo right there. And if you are having it serviced in Japan, then you get this kind of stamp with Mount Fuji. Looks like some cherry blossoms there. And on the other side, this is where it happened, the address. They called me twice. And I didn't answer. Actually, okay, they called me 2 times one day. I didn't answer. And then they called me again the next day, and I didn't answer. And a couple days after that, this came. And I don't know if they would have sent this if I had answered the phone, but I'm glad they did. It'll be interesting to see what's in here. I don't really know what's in here because I've got a service quote, and this could just be a letter saying, come and get it. But anyway, there we go. So that's what's going on, and I can't wait to pick this up. And I've got some Rolex related things to open on camera, and I've been waiting to do that, but I wanted to make this video first. So, all right, watch guys, off you go. We're talking booze now. All right, okay, so yeah, that was an interesting experience, and I feel like I should address things. Now, some people were a little bit upset that I made the video the next day and treated that event with a degree of levity, because a lot of people would say that's not healthy what happened, and I tend to agree with that, but it did seem to be the source of mirth and some enjoyment for some of you guys, and so for that I'm sort of grateful. And part of me feels like it could be, and it could have been, a lot worse. But let me just say, I want to thank everybody that stopped by and said positive, encouraging things, and we're really supportive, because it meant a lot to get those messages. It made sort of that fail feel a little bit better. And there were people during the event in question, like John McManus and Hisham, that really were being pretty damn supportive, and showed a side of humanity that I really respect and I'm appreciative of. So thank you. To be honest, I haven't really watched a lot of that. I haven't watched and read a lot of what was going on in the live stream, but from a couple of emails that I got, those were 2 people that sort of stuck out as really being supportive and not sort of taking a mocking tone, but more of like a supportive one. And so Hisham, thank you. John, thank you for that. And thanks to everybody else that commented and we're cool about that little mishap. So what do we learn? Well, it's been a several decades learning process. For decades, I don't know if I would say I have a drinking problem. I think I would rephrase it to say I have a problem drinking. And for decades, I've seen the bottle as a real dangerous dancing partner. But I have avoided not engaging because I felt like I was letting the bottle win. And it would go where I would have an okay experience, and I thought, okay, well, it didn't win. But then I'd have a bad experience, and it was like, it beat me. It got the better of me, and I can't let it do that. I gotta give it another shot. I can't let it take me out like that. It's a weird way to sort of conceptualize it. I mean, like, we're talking an inanimate object, and look, I mean, it's really a battle of you and yourself against the effects of this pretty potent drug. And I would say I drink probably about 10 times a year, right? And of those 10 times, I would say one ends pretty disastrously, and that was what happened on Friday. Now I was hungover on Saturday. I had a headache on Sunday, and I had one on Monday as well. So yeah, it was pretty brutal. But I guess the damage sort of wasn't just contained in my head and how I felt and the events drinking, but it sort of went a little bit off the rails in my personal life. My wife is totally cool, don't worry about that. And but it's like when something like that happens in a sort of a public spectacle, there's understandably a degree of embarrassment there, and that you don't really feel when it's just you drinking and kind of getting hungover in the privacy of whatever situation you're in. So out of 10 times, usually we'll have about one like that. All right. The other roughly 6 or 7 will end in just pretty much a massive hangover. All right. And the other 2 of those 10 in general will end in no hangover, but relatively a feeling of relative dissatisfaction about how much I drank. All right, meaning I didn't quite get to where I wanted to go with it. And if I look back reflectively and say, was that a fun night? I'm not hungover. Was it a fun night? No, it's usually a night of me really having to rein in my drinking and reining in the fun in a way. And so through many years of experience, I've come to the conclusion that at best it'll be a relatively unsatisfying night. All right, and I won't get hungover the next day, but I really won't have reached the level that I was looking for. And at worst, you have what happened on Friday, and then what's most common is just a massive hangover that drains me of pretty much all of the sort of happiness-inducing chemicals, and days after that it's kind of depressing, and I feel funky and hungover, and needless to say, massive headaches, and it pretty much ruins my time. And it's not a good trade. I mean, I love these watches because they help you maximize your time and help you really appreciate it and use it to its best purpose. And alcohol, I find, just hasn't done that for me. There's some people it works for. Christopher Hitchens used to say it was a good tool for him, and he used it like a tool, and you don't want to let it become your master. You want to keep it in the role of the slave. But I think he probably had different objectives when he put a drink to his lips than I do. I'm looking for something pretty deep and significant and intense. I'm looking for something intense, and it's not this sort of chemical that you want to search for intensity with. So after many years of thinking about this and sort of looking for that out of those 10 drinking events, looking for the perfect balance where I sort of I get that experience, but I don't pay for it. I kind of get away with it. It's never quite happened. I don't think it's ever happened. It's either I pay for it or I don't pay for it, but I didn't quite reach where I was going, and it's ultimately dissatisfying. So I think I've realized that it's just really not the chemical that I need to be engaging in, and it's taken me nearly 2 decades to come to that conclusion, but I have ample evidence that abstaining is just a better way to go for me, and so that's going forward. That's the way I go, and So will it be hard? I don't think it will be, because like I said, I drink probably 10 times a year, and in my daily life I don't. It's these occasions when I feel like just a bit of craziness, and those are relatively easy to avoid. Now, if you live in Japan, you know very well what a nomihodai is and about how many parties. Nomihodai means it's an all-you-can-drink event, and meaning you wind up at a restaurant somewhere and there's 2 hours of unlimited drinking, as much as you can put down in 2 hours. And those will be the hardest. Those will be the hardest to resist. Will it be hard to resist in my daily life? Not at all. But those probably will be challenging, and we'll see how it goes. But there we go. It was a hell of a send-off, I gotta say. Thank you, Pink Elephant. It was a pleasure, but I think I bid you adieu. And thanks again for your, the kindness. I was under the impression that sort of the watch community are a vicious bunch of people, but man, I was pretty impressed. And maybe it's just my viewers are awesome. Maybe that's what it is. So thanks again for that. And going forward, don't expect any drunken live streams. I'll meet you. Probably can't have a beer with you. Certainly can't have a beer with you. And that's just the way it goes. Anything else to say about it? Well, let's consider this corked, closed. I'm not going to bring this up a lot. Probably never again. But we'll talk watches and we'll have fun with that. Thanks again. Take care. Hey, let me know your thoughts on it. If you got something to say, put it in the comment section. Take care. Thanks, and see you next time.